Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, Downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners April 2nd, 2014 meeting. Commissioner Williams has our dog today.
We have a 5-year-old lady here that's looking for a home. She's a lab. She was found out on Oberlin Road. And when's she going to be available? Saturday. So just a very calm dog. It's going to be good with kids. Come out, take a look, and hopefully you can adopt her. If not, we have many other dogs you can take a look at.
We have Judge Burge and Tim Lubbe here from Common Pleas regards to the adult probation location.
Wonderful. Either one, Tim or Judge?
Or both.
Or both?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Tim Lubbe on behalf of the...
I don't think you're on. Is this microphone on out there, Jim?
Check.
I couldn't
got
hear
a green
him.
light.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Hello?
Let me just turn up the volume, Tim. Hang on a second. Maybe I won't turn up the volume. I don't have any mic controls, Commissioner, so we're going to have to go
You have
with
to speak louder, Tim.
Yeah, I usually don't hear the complaint that I don't speak loud enough. So, good morning, Commissioners. I would like to thank you on behalf of the Common Pleas Court for the opportunity to continue our dialogue about finding a permanent solution for the location of the Probation Department.
Can we give you the handheld mic so it gets
Sure.
recorded?
Would it be convenient? You want me to
You
go
got
over
it?
there?
Okay, hang on. He might have it now. Experiencing technical difficulties.
Hello?
right now, Tim.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go.
A little bit.
Now we can hear you.
Thank you. My purpose and the judge's purpose today is to continue our dialogue as we left off. We've provided you with our proposal regarding relocating the probation department to the 5th floor. We've received your proposal, and so I'm here today prepared to discuss the details of the plan. We've brought with us Gary Fisher from Arkinetics, so he can speak to some of the details of the plan. Beth Sawina, our Chief Probation Officer, is here to speak, if necessary, on behalf of the kind of pros and cons of the benefits as we see them. So, quite frankly, I would turn it over to you and try to assist you in answering any questions you have.
I mean, I can go from my standpoint. I spoke with Judge Jimmerall the other night.
Sure.
And I spoke to Mayor Brinda because she had concerns about our proposal on Broad Street and stuff. And we're tossing up the air. I just don't see where we're going to spend $2 million plus or $1 million or plus on anything at this point. There's just no revenues, and to go farther in debt for any of that, I would rather, you know, work with our current setup till we get some better revenues in here, Tim. You know how the county's been over the years, and we're strapped. The sheriff's begging for cars, bodies. I mean, that's my only concern. I appreciate all the work went into it, but I made this clear. Putting that kind of money into anything currently, I just don't have any stomach for.
I understand that. Commissioners, when we met over a year ago, we all sat down, and there was obviously differences of opinion as to what the ideal solution was, but there was no disagreement that business as usual, continuing with the probation department in the old courthouse and the Columbia Gas building was untenable for all parties. The location is falling down. There is significant amounts of money that are going to be expended to make the facility operate as we need it to. And quite frankly, we've been delaying putting any money or requesting any revisions for more than 5 years before I ever started as a court administrator. And that was under the auspices of, let's not waste that money because we're going to have a long-term solution, and everybody agrees the old courthouse is not it. So
I agree with that. Not arguing that point in the least.
Absolutely. So that was the premise that we started. So we waited a year. We did our work. You guys have done your work, and that was with the understanding, again, the basic premise, everybody agreed, business as usual doesn't work. So respectfully, we're having a difficult time now when the answer is, well, we don't have any money to change. I believe that it's going to cost us a lot more money to stay and not do anything. The court, has been willing to work through these problems and not spend money and not insist on remodeling to the old courthouse because we agree that's a waste of money. But if the answer is we can't afford to do anything, then quite frankly, we can't. I mean, some of those costs we have been bearing. We have 2 locations. I have personnel split up. I have 2 receptionists, multiple sets of equipment. Those are costs that we're eating. The efficiency of the probation department is compromised. We have break-ins in the old courthouse. We have people stealing our equipment. Those are costs that we bear. When somebody comes in, is living in the old courthouse and defecating all over the place and stealing our files, that impacts how we do business. And so, I would respectfully submit we can't just continue with business as usual. And so, I think if you sit down and consider the costs that we're going to spend in the very short term of trying to make the old courthouse appropriate for our facility, those costs quickly pale in comparison to what, or would be much more significant compared to what we would spend on either of the 2 other proposals.
There's been some discussion from the judges that you may be able to provide some of your special funds to
Absolutely.
help offset the cost of this. Do
As
you have an amount in mind of what you think you can contribute?
Absolutely. As we looked at the proposal, and we considered the initial proposal for the Broad Street location and compared it to ours, essentially as I looked at it, there's about $1 million difference. And so after discussions with the judges, we don't have $1 million sitting around either, Commissioner.
I know you don't. Gotcha.
Our solution was, can we encumber a stream of revenue to satisfy a bond obligation? And we would submit that is really how this project is accomplished. I understand you guys don't have $1 million or $2 million, but there are other bonds out there that the county has floated to satisfy obligations, just like we did with the Justice Center in the past. Right. So we would propose going out together, getting a bond, and that we would be responsible for some of that, of satisfying some of that bond obligation. And so you're not looking at coming up with $900,000 or $1 million or $1.5 million. It's simply satisfying the bond obligation, whether it's in 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years. So the short answer to your question is absolutely, Commissioners. We looked at if the difference between our numbers was $1 million, and we can, at the end of the day, if we can come to an agreement that we're going to make a change, we can sit down, and I'm sure, if you talk to our expert, we talk to your expert, there's multiple differences in the numbers themselves. So we can come down to the number that we can all agree on is what the cost of this project is going to be. And the court is prepared to move forward and be accountable for some of those costs.
The Broad Street cost is $973,000. If we do the demolition ourselves, we would save $130,000. So we're looking at $843 compared to your cost is about $3 million. So we're like $2 million apart.
Those aren't our numbers, Commissioner. I think our number is 2.4. And Gary, I'll
Well,
let
there
you-
was, yeah, we got a figure of 2.4 from you, but there was some costs associated with the project that were not included.
Absolutely.
And that total was about $377,000. So we're about 2.78
And I
million.
think if you, and we would do the same thing with your numbers. If you look at your numbers, it doesn't include a new roof. It doesn't actually include an HVAC system.
Right, and I've
But
got that
let's say
figure
it's-
also. If
go
you
ahead.
hold 1 second, The roof is 115 and the HVAC is at 40. So if we did the demo ourselves and did the roof and HVAC, we're still under like $973,000. So we're way different in cost, and the footprint is almost identical.
Absolutely.
In I think Karen Davis asked you what your needs were, and we accommodated every single need in that Broad Street building.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, one thing on that, though, I took a look at that and I talked to Karen. We're not actually figuring out what our cost is. We're not billing ourselves for the employees, because that is a true cost. I know it's in-house, but we're still taking people, and we're going to be paying them. They were going to use help over the summer to
Right.
do the work, but it's going to be a cost that we're going to.
Well, that's $100,000 compared to $2 million in a difference between what they're asking for on the 5th floor and what we can provide on Broad Street.
Those same things can be applied in our project too, Commissioner.
But you don't have any demolition over there.
Well, correct, but those same labor, if you're going to use in-house labor, that same labor can be used on our project.
What would
for
they
example,
do?
They can build walls, they can paint, they can do whatever we would outside hire out, which is in our proposal. For example, your proposal, one of the components is to reduce it by using the tiles from solid waste. Same
Right,
savings can
right.
be applied to ours.
Exactly,
So
I
as your number
understand.
goes
That's
down,
right.
whatever savings you're proposing, we can do the same thing on ours.
Right.
So if your number goes down because you say we're going to do that in-house, that's those same labor
That's
savings.
that's the only thing that we would do in-house would be $100,000 worth of demolition. We're not talking about painting or building walls or anything like that.
But whether you're you're doing demolition, but you're tying up that labor. So as the commissioner points out, that has a cost to you. Those individuals are not available to do other jobs within the county. That has a cost. So it's not free money. So those same people, if you factor in what their cost is, their labor, their unavailability to other things, that actually is a cost that should be included in there. If you want to use that as a negative or as a detractor or as a negative to take off your bottom line, you can take that same amount and apply it to ours. So if it reduces your number by $160,000, you can reduce our number by $160,000.
Right.
So the same number comes down together.
I do have a question for you.
Yes,
When I was
Commissioner.
looking at your proposal, I saw the cost for the HVAC and that. The one thing I didn't see was programming. And when you go through and you actually change that, there has to be individual programming per floor, I guess, and I didn't see a programming cost. Was that lumped in, or is that going to be
It's-
additional?
Gary says it's in there. That's a great example, Commissioner. For example, let's say at the end of the day, whether your number is $1 million, $1.5 million, or $800,000. The proposal, if you look at the details of it, and Gary can speak to each one of these, the HVAC system, let's look at that. The amount of money that you're spending on the HVAC system is completely disposable. That's not a long-term HVAC system. It's a system that's going to need to be replaced within 5 to 8 years, okay? So you've now just spent $200,000.
Why would you have to replace it in 5 years?
Because it's not a robust system. The amount of money, the square footage is the same, okay? So you're heating and cooling the same square
Right.
footage, okay? The HVAC system that has been proposed for the Justice Center location will last the life of the building. It's a 25-plus year system. There is no way, again, not by what I say, what the experts say, that you can spend the amount of money that's proposed underneath the Broad Street location and have an HVAC system that's going to last any conceivable time.
Yeah.
And even more frankly, let's look at the whole project. The whole Broad Street proposal is not a long-term solution.
Why not?
It's my understanding that the plan is to demolish that property within the next 10 years.
No, I never.
Yeah.
That's what
we
we were
talked
told
about that in
when we
executive
started this.
session.
That was a different property that we
No,
were
that
going to
was
buy,
it.
purchase, renovate, and then tear down. This one, I don't know
That
that we've
was-
ever talked about tearing this
No, we
building
talked
down.
about tearing that down for additional parking.
No, that was a previous building.
Yeah. And it
Mr.
didn't
Cortez, did
pan
we ever
out.
talk about tearing this building down?
No.
We've had conversations about all our buildings
Yeah, but
periodically.
tearing this particular building down?
It was one of the options, when we first were looking at getting the building, it was one of the things that it could have been used for if we wanted to, down the road. So, can't say it wasn't, but the decision to use it for parking was not made, no.
Yeah, The discussion came up is because we know the life expectancy of our garage is short-term. and that we would go through and we demolish the garage, we would need additional parking, and that building would have been torn down. That was the discussion point.
I
We've
don't ever
discussed a lot
recall.
of demos and buying other buildings and
Yeah,
stuff like that for
not
demo.
that
It was never
particular
anything that
one.
was.
I
As
guess
spoke
there's,
to the mayor earlier, not to interrupt you, I told the mayor, we keep tearing down buildings in downtown Elyria, it's gonna look like a Gap 2 Smile. We need to redevelop them.
Well,
yeah.
and Commissioners, I'm really prepared. Gary can, you know, the numbers, as you've received them from your side, I believe there is significant debate we can have as to whether or not that's a real number. I mean, it's an older facility. Let's say the plan is to not tear it down. You still, as you look at it, the costs that are projected for that plan really do not allow for a long-term solution. The other thing is, you're going to be, it's not a building that the commissioners own, correct?
yes, we do.
No, the Port Authority owns it.
Okay, so I
Yeah, we
presume the
get
Port Authority is going to be expecting revenue from that, that thing. So you are going to be paying rent there. So all these dollars that you spent are ultimately not, go to the benefit of the landlord. And you will then continue to pay rent on that property in perpetuity. Whereas, at least in the Justice Center, that's a property that you own. Gary, why don't you talk about some of the other number differences?
Yeah, some of the things, you know, and obviously we tried to do a real good, you know, fair comparison, you know, between the two numbers. And, you know, not having had the benefit of really seeing the spreadsheets, some of the things that started to stand out were, you know, contingency was 5% figured in there. So some of the numbers, and we figured an 8% contingency. So you can start to do some things, you know, number-wise, just to make a number look better. But there are no listing for general conditions, contractor overhead, performance and payment bond, permit fees, construction change order contingency. So all of those things are left out, and those, on our figures, you know, we try to make sure that those were in there, because I don't like to see the surprise come back later.
Well, on
And
that
those-
note, can I stop you right there for
Certainly.
1 second? What about the fact that it would be cheaper for a contractor to go into the Broad Street building than it would be for them to go into the Justice Center, having to go through security, working around a building that's operational, maybe having to do a lot of the work at night? I would think it would be a lot cheaper to work on the Broad Street building than it would be in the courthouse.
Fortunately, you know, because it is an isolated floor, they're able to get in and work on that floor. So that's a matter of coordination at the Justice Center to make sure that the contractors have the access in there. You know, fortunately, there's an elevator back there that they can use and some things that make that a little bit easier. So that's not
Not an issue?
That's not a cost,
No?
really, for that.
Okay.
You know, granted, yeah, is there some off hour that might have to be done? You know, at this point, we're really early in that. So the other thing that we tried to do was allow for a lot of those things in there. I didn't see anything for like exterior work, you know, really major exterior repair, repointing on the exterior of the other building on Broad Street. Roofing was pulled out of it, but it was added in as an optional number. And I think there were probably $300,000+. I'm sorry, about $212,000 in things that you could self-perform possibly, but then there were other items. Excuse me, I'm trying to find the correct page. Items that were basically left out and said, well, okay, tear off existing roofing, $115,000, replace the 4 rooftop units. So in the basic proposal, they're planning on reusing the existing HVAC system, which is already an old system. So add another $40,000 for 4 new rooftop units. Cut in 7 new 3x7 window openings on the east elevation and install aluminum storefront windows and 1-inch insulated glass. So it's giving some windows to the building which doesn't currently have them. Audio visual technology in the conference and 2 training rooms, another $60,000. So, you know, in comparing things, you know, we're trying to do it in level of what the Justice Department fit and finish is, and we're looking at the finish levels there, and the finish levels, the costs allowed for those are not, you know, we're comparing apples and rocks. So it's not even apples and oranges in some of those cases.
And while clearly, from your perspective, cost is a component, you don't want to pay more than you have to.
Excuse me, Commissioner?
Where's Karen Davis at?
She's across the hall. I'll respond when they're done. Obviously, Gary, have you ever been over there and inspect those HVAC units?
Over to this, no, I have not.
Okay, but you just made a point that they're not any good and we choose to reuse them. Maybe they've been inspected and they're suitable for reuse. So you don't know that, right?
I'm only reacting to.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know that?
I don't know that, but I'm
Okay.
reacting to a number that there was a number in there for replacement of those units versus the
Well,
units.
see,
But they are an older
40,000.
unit.
But we had a conversation about reutilization and what we could do, what we can't do.
Sure.
Now, you know, you've indicated to the commissioners that that's not, we could add this to our proposal because
Right.
of those units. You don't know the condition of those units, but you could add anything. You could add anything you want if you haven't been over there,
Certainly.
okay? So, you know, it's kind of hard. You say we're making an apples to rocks, but you haven't seen the rock.
Well, I've looked at the exterior of the rock,
Okay.
and I did walk through the building a few years ago.
Okay, but
So,
that-
you know,
but-
was I
but
doing
again,
an analysis for that?
You know, we had Clark and Post come in. They
Sure.
did their analysis. We worked with them on a proposal. You know, what the decision of the board's going to be is going to be, but with regard to, we can't do this, we can't do that, I'm not going to give the board a proposal we don't think can be done, okay? And I gave them a proposal, and I think it can be done.
And I don't disagree with that. And when I'm looking at comparison, I'm saying I have finishes that I can look at in the Justice Center and say, this is the level of finish that needs to be matched in the lobby areas, in the elevator areas, in the office areas. So if
Right,
we
you're
look at
100%
that-
correct. We would need cherry trim, we would need to finish the building in the style that it's in. I actually agree
Correct.
with that statement. That's what makes it a costly build.
Right.
I
absolutely.
understand that. It's the same way that an Impala will get you to Cleveland, just the same as a Cadillac would, but there's no
Certainly.
burl wood in an Impala.
Right.
They're still
so-
going to get you to
And
Cleveland.
that's where I'm saying I'm comparing, you know, apples to a rock. You know, there's a difference in the level of finish just by the sheer cost of it. If you're finishing 12,000 square feet of space, and I'm matching those finish. And again, I will tell you, our numbers are conservative on the high side at this point because those things haven't been ferreted out to the final point. As I'm sure they haven't been ferreted out for the Broad Street building. You know, what is behind that wall that they tear out? What's underneath that floor that they tear out? You know, those are things that none of us can predict.
And that was one of the reasons why the board asked to look at a different option, because the finishes are expensive in the Justice Center. Nobody's faulting that. That's not a fault. That's just,
It is.
it is, okay? And does that make something else less costly? It does, because you don't have to build to that finish standard. I'm agreeing with you 100%, but that doesn't make that proposal for the Justice Center less costly. We don't have to use those finishes here. And that makes the proposal, I would say, slightly more attractive on, at least on the build side. Sure. On the build side. And I'm not talking about the decision.
Yeah, and again, I think there is plenty of opportunity for us to have a dialogue about the actual numbers. And you can say your number is high here, you don't include this, we could do the same thing. So I think there is plenty of opportunity for us to continue that if we can agree that we're going to move forward. So whether your number comes down because of what you would ultimately contribute to the Broad Street location or whatever, we can come to an agreement, I believe, on that. But it's not just we are going to spend $900,000 if we go to Broad Street, if we agreed to that. There is a cost to us locating on Broad Street. And I want Beth to get up and talk about that, because for the longest time, the court has borne those costs of probation not being located in an appropriate fashion for us. Ask the Domestic Relations Court how efficient they would be if we took their probation department and didn't have it physically connected to them. We have, if we locate at Broad Street, we're going to have an ongoing security issue. Somebody's going to have to pay for a sheriff deputy to sit out there and make sure that the people that come in are screened.
Screened?
Screened. That just like we have at the Justice Center. Right now, we have costs because we have to go out and train our probation officers to have them equipped with weapons, and that's not ideal. They're not supposed to be in a security situation where they have to carry weapons all the time because they're in an environment which isn't safe.
Yeah. No, they would still be required to take that training, though, because they
Not
do
at
have a
all.
weapon. No?
Nope. If they carry weapons, they have to take the training.
Right.
But the necessity of them carrying weapons goes out the window when they're in a facility that doesn't
So
jeopardize
you're
their
saying if they
safety.
were at the Justice Center, they would not be required to carry weapons?
That's correct.
All right.
Well, they wouldn't be required to carry weapons in the building, because I don't think the sheriff lets them have weapons in the building.
They changed that.
Did they? I wasn't
yeah,
sure.
That's okay.
But do you provide the sheriff's deputy now at the door screening?
Do we? No.
Well, you said it's a cost you're bearing, so I'm asking if you're bearing it, do you do it now?
No, it's a cost that would inure from that location.
Okay, but you said the court's been bearing these costs. That's what you said.
No,
And-
I didn't
Meaning
say
the
that.
county,
I said the
Jim.
guns, the training, that is what we're currently bearing.
But they're still going to carry guns out of the facility, right? Outside the facility?
They wouldn't have the necessity to carry guns outside
At
the
all?
facility. At all.
Looking at the numbers, your proposal is 2.4 million, and you're proposing that we split it, correct? So our $900,000 estimate we would have to put in another $300,000 under your proposal. I like the Justice Center, being a true Justice Center, having it all in one. I do like that idea. My concern is with projects when you get started, 2.4 million, does that turn into 2.7, 3 million?
Just like with the
Or
Broad
even,
Street.
even
Sure.
more?
Did you get an email from Karen Davis?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. It is 2.7.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. I saw Tim's from.
Got it.
Did it go up to 2.7 million now, Tim?
Not that I know of, Commissioner.
The ones in red are things that were not part of their proposal that are part of our proposal.
Okay, well, that's going to go back because I think we had
Exactly as we were talking before.
$400,000
Ours could
worth
go
of
up,
things
yours
that
could go
weren't
up.
in our proposal, like the building permits, unless the mayor is going to allow us to get away with waiving the building permits for us, but, and other things.
Well, you're gonna
Well,
have that
she might
in-
if we don't locate on Broad Street.
Um,
We'll let you up here shortly, Mayor.
But using the numbers that you gave me, 2.4 versus 900,000 on our end, we're looking at additional 300,000. I would like to have some type of guarantee. You tell me that you're confident on those numbers of the 2.4.
Yep.
Okay. Would there be a way to get a guarantee from it if it goes above that the courts would be willing to take that on?
I believe so, Commissioner. I believe, again, our ability to tap, there's two things, and we haven't even talked about the second component of this is, we need a new location or a location for our foreclosure department. One of the nice things about this proposal is it's not just an encompassing solution for the probation department. The plan for the 5th floor also includes relocating the foreclosure department up there. So then I'm able to tap into additional funds to satisfy that. So if it was just probation, I have X amount of revenue. Because this also includes foreclosure, which we've been waiting for a year to solve this problem, I can apply additional special projects funds to cover the cost. So the short answer to your question is, Commissioner, yes, the court would be willing. We come to an agreement on the numbers. If those numbers deviate in an increasing fashion, the court would be willing to satisfy those obligations.
Just for clarification for the people that watch this, if the court so desired, they could also partner on the building over here, right?
Actually not.
Why not?
The tie-in for us to use our special projects funds is that, this is what the statute says that created those funds, is that they have to be used for the efficient operation of the court. And in our discussions...
Well, that's interpretive. I guess,
That's
you know,
what the law
that's lawyer talk, okay?
Can I finish? You asked me a question. Please let me finish.
Well, I understood your answer. and
Well,
I think
actually, I
everybody
didn't
did.
finish my statement.
Okay, please.
That the statute says for the efficient operation of the court, after extensive discussions and dialogue, it is the opinion of the judges that a continuation of investing money in a facility that's not a long-term solution is not supportive of the efficient operation of the court. I haven't even talked about, I told you one of the essential components of this, you want to just talk about the bottom line. The bottom line is where we're at and where we do our job affects our efficiency. And Beth, I want you to talk about that and talk about how being located away from, not directly connected to the courthouse, affects our efficiency.
But again, let me restate that.
Okay.
That's your interpretation of efficiency. And I understand that, and I respect that, Tim, I do, okay? But if they deemed it efficient, they could pay for it.
Right.
Absolutely, if they
Okay.
deemed it efficient.
Okay.
And the fact that you're saying it's not long-term, we can guarantee that it is going to be long-term, just like you can guarantee things as well. We don't have, I don't foresee us spending all that money on that building and then tearing it down for a parking lot. I would never do that. That's when we first had our discussion a year ago. We were talking about a building, doing that same very thing, buying it, renovating it, and then tearing it down. I thought that was the stupidest idea ever. That that's when I said, yeah, the 5th floor would be a good idea if I had to pick between those two things. But now we have another alternative, which I think may be the best alternative. And one of the things I guess I need to ask is, back in when they were building the Justice Center, there had to be a reason why they didn't put probation in there at that time. I mean, where were you then? Where was the probation department at that time?
Wasn't asked that question, Commissioner. No one never came to us and said, hey, we want to locate the probation. In fact, what happened at the time, they were located in a building which ultimately was demolished. They were then moved around and ultimately then put into the old courthouse. So in the judge's minds, this is a continuation of that saga, and it's not efficient.
I agree with you. I don't think that is efficient, moving in, from location to location. But when you gave Karen Davis your specifications of what you needed to be efficient,
yep,
she met every single one of those. So it is an efficient building, and if we don't tear it down, you could pay for it with your special funds.
Commissioner, may I respond to the adult probation in the Justice Center?
Sure.
Because I think that, I'm looking around the room, I was the only one that was here when all that was done. Tim's not incorrect in the moving around of adult probation. And actually, initially, through years of conversation and meeting with the courts on an ongoing basis, adult probation was in, they were out, they were in, they were out. I mean, they originally was thought to put them in there because of competing forces and differences of opinion. They were left out of the Justice Center, and they didn't get put in there. So it wasn't as if they wasn't discussed. It was heavily discussed at the time with regard to wanting them in there or not wanting them in there.
And what was the reason for not putting them in there?
Well, some of the reasons were they didn't want them co-located with some of the users of the Justice Center and the prosecuting attorneys and et cetera. Now, like I said, those are all the reasons. We facilitated the meetings, but the discussions were had. It wasn't as if they weren't had. They were in 1999 and 2000, 2001, going into the project. So when it was decided they were left out, and Tim is very accurate, they were moved around a different amount of buildings that got tore down subsequently to make way for the Justice Center. But there was conversations.
Judge, I think you wanted to speak.
I do. When we were here, I believe it was last October, we had hoped by December that we would be looking towards a solution to this problem. And given the discussion at that meeting, the Common Pleas Court has spent a substantial amount of money to put together a proposal that would place our employees
Judge, he's saying there you go.
Under our
Thank
roof. It is a proposal that's workable. The numbers are conservative. We would expect them to go down rather than go up. In addition, this project will provide for not only the development of the 3rd floor with respect to the Probation Department, attention should be paid to the fact that we have also culled enough space for expansion. Not that I think we'll ever need more judges, at least in the general division, but we have provided enough space and build out for 2 courtrooms, chambers for judges and their employees, as well as jury rooms. This project will provide all of the wiring, the HVAC, and all of the other accoutrements that are needed if there's going to be more expansion on that floor. Now, with respect to the alternative location, I suppose it's not lost on anyone that the chief of the Elyria Police Department and the mayor of the city are here. There was some discussion last week about whether the judges really proposed this or whether it was the hobgoblin of the minds of Mr. Lubbe and myself. You've all received a letter signed by all 6 judges indicating that this is what we want. Now, Commissioner Kalo is correct. He spoke with Judge Miraldi the other day on that, and he got quite a response, which was, it just ain't happening.
No, I said I wasn't in favor of spending $2.5 million at this point.
He quoted you, Commissioner. He quoted you. I trust his word.
Okay.
It ain't happening. Now, let me tell you about the Broad Street. It ain't happening. We're not going to have 100 thugs at the corner of Broad Street and Middle every day, leaving pop cans, cigarette butts, syringes and works, used condoms, half cans of pop everywhere. That ain't happening because they won't stand for it. It's not a workable solution. We would have our probation officers and our probationers walking 2 to 3 blocks to get from the courthouse there. We can barely get them to walk across the street. We need a space where they can go directly from the courtroom to the probation department for their interviews. And we're not going to have our probation officers walking 3 blocks in the wintertime to get to the courthouse. It makes absolutely no sense. This program is fiscally responsible. It provides for the future. It should have been done when the building was built. And I can't speak to that leadership. I only know what the product of it is. Bad planning. Now, what I would suggest is that the commission tune in a little bit on Mr. Williams in his idea of what is fiscally responsible. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm not an all or nothing guy like my colleagues and Mr. Lubbe. I have Plan B, and this is what Plan B is. Plan B is this. I'm going to consult with the mayor, and I'm going to have the health department come to the old courthouse, and they're going to tell me what it takes to make it sanitary. And then I'm going to have the building department come over and tell me what it takes to bring it up to code, and then I'm going to have the Supreme Court come up and tell me what it's going to take to make the building secure. And I'm going to get numbers, and I'm going to add them up, and I'm going to take the sum, and I'm going to order you to pay it. And you know what? That's exactly what you're going to do. And our presentation is finished. Thank you.
Commissioners, for your own clarification, I've had the building department and health department there, and the building has received a passing grade. So if you have any question with regard to that, it's already been done. Those things have already been called for. You ready?
Thank you for your time, Commissioners. If
Thanks,
you wish
Tim.
to have a dialogue, I'm always open to discussions. Thank you.
I'll let Mayor Brinda, she want to say a couple comments because you had a discussion with her and some business owners on Broad Street about the issue. Yeah, come on up, Mayor.
Either one, whatever side you'd like.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm just entering this dialogue, but there are a couple of things I want to say, and some of it is actually a bigger picture view, and that is, you know, we're all operating with financial constraints, and I know the county's no different than the city is. You are in need of space, you're in need of solutions, you're in need of parking, and we have that in the city of Elyria, and I guess what I would urge you to do is the city is very committed to the redevelopment of downtown. We've initiated a planning process, leveraged almost $100,000, and we're in the process of doing that. We're hoping that the county will be part of that so we can begin to align our goals. And one of our goals really is to return a mixed-use strategy to our downtown. And I have to say that being on the receiving end of information about you know, certainly the county has every right to bid on and purchase properties, but I'm hoping that you'll work with the city of Elyria as we look towards solutions to redevelop our downtown area. We have drawn an artificial line around our city from the hospital to the Salvation Army to the library to the new Elyria High School. We have a new partnership with the Urban Land Institute out of Cuyahoga County. We're in the middle of a market analysis on all of our commercial properties. We do have interest among a number of businesses who are being entertained via a number of property owners. And relocating adult probation services at this critical location in our beautiful historic downtown really concerns me. And I will tell you, you know, we can't control that population per se, but we know some of them are some of the most challenging criminals in our county that either are not in jail or not in a penitentiary right now and are reporting on a daily basis to probation officers and for drug screening. That is certainly not going to help the city of Elyria in the area of safety. It's not going to help the city of Elyria in terms of perception about our downtown and our ability to not only attract but retain the current business owners. And I will tell you, we've put a lot of effort into trying to make downtown Elyria a much safer place. And I wanted Chief Whiteley to share with you a little bit about all of our attempts to do that. And while I know it doesn't sound like moving this facility a block would make that much difference, I will tell you we believe it would on a number of different levels just because of our experience that we've had with this population. So again, I would implore you to really think about the impact that will have on the city of Elyria's ability to redevelop our downtown. We're not sitting around waiting for something to happen. Things are starting to move, I think, in the right direction with all of our planning, and we want to work with you. We want to work with you to help find solutions for your parking needs, for your property, and I do want you to know the city of Elyria values the county. I mean, when you think about the number of employees employed by the county here in downtown Elyria, you know, we have over, in combination with the county, the hospital, the city, the schools, we know we've got at least 16,000 people who are a captive audience in our county seat. And instead of trying to figure out how to sub-optimize each other, we need to figure out how to build synergy on that. And not only to encourage people to patronize businesses and other establishments during the day while we're here, but also to give them a reason to stay. So giving them a reason to stay is paramount to this discussion. I'd like Chief Whiteley to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've done already to help make downtown safer.
Before you go to that, the probation office has been in the center of your downtown for how many years now? Mm-hmm. Have you gotten a lot of calls? Are you like getting calls that we have problems down in the city square, or has it been under control?
It's been under control, but what we're saying is it's not optimal. And if you move those services to Broad Street on in a highly visible area where we have commercial property that's viable for other purposes that would help draw people downtown for, retail, entertainment, restaurant, and other commercial reasons, that's our preferred use of that property. Obviously, I mean, our preference also would be not to demolish downtown property on Broad Street and turn it into parking lots.
Oh.
I mean, that
I agree.
It's critical to our downtown's ability to redevelop, to think about how we're going to use those parcels in a productive way to redevelop commerce in our downtown. So, while I understand parking is an issue, we're hopeful that we can work with you to find some other solutions for parking other than on, downtown Elyria and Broad Street. It's our living room.
Right.
It's our living room, and where we do choose to put services does matter. And believe me, I understand the need to serve this population. I'm not insensitive to it. I think if you know me, you know that I'm the kind of person who believes in working with individuals, giving them second chances, and but I think where we do these services, where we do the monitoring, where we provide the probation services does matter, and I don't think Broad Street is the place to do it. So
yeah, I agree with you on that, because when you look at when we look at our office windows onto the old courthouse, you'll have 50 to 100 people in the summertime on Mondays at least. Look out there when they're coming in, especially in the summer. You'll see it packed out there, sitting on the
For drug testing, probably?
Well, probation visit.
Well, the problem is that's why they wanted a waiting room for 100 people,
Right.
because there is no waiting room that can accommodate that many people
Right,
now.
but just moving it from being behind the old courthouse out to Broad Street, I think would be an issue. When I would go for walks during lunch hours in the summertime, there's definitely a difference between when you're on Broad Street, how many times you get stopped, versus how many times you're getting stopped by panhandlers over by the courthouse. The probation people, they're always asking for money. They're asking for cigarettes or something. But I just think it is a bad mistake to move that, to have them wait out in the north side of the park over by Broad Street. That's where they're going to hang out.
Yeah, I spoke to my Brendan, like I said, some of the business people down there after looking at the facility in the area and rewalking it. I know coming from a downtown business what they had done with some of the rezoning allowed in downtown Lorain, where we had those just released and such, living in a building next to my store and the Catholic charities and stuff milling around the parking lot. It just makes it very difficult to have a safe perception in that type of area. So, I mean, I understand that too. So, I mean, we've got to look at options for that. I understand the judge's issue. They'd like to go in there. I have a hard time spending $2.5 million though, currently. I just really do. And we haven't heard from the prosecutor what his issues are with this happening. So, I mean, there's a lot more to bring up here, and I understand the judge getting upset about wanting to do it. I just have a hard time spending $2.5 million. Go ahead, Chief. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not here to discuss whether or not it should be in the Justice Center. That's a county issue there. I'm here to discuss Broad Street. And I can tell you 4 years ago we started to attack the problems that created safety issues in the downtown area. And there were multiple levels with that. One was the bars in the downtown area. And it took us 2 years to shut those down. While that was going on, there was also and the name of the agency that was there escapes me right now, but I know it was an alcohol and drug service. And we were getting daily complaints from citizens and from business owners on Broad Street, and then specifically Ely Square, as to the type of people that were congregating in there. There was people saying, we're watching them smoke drugs, we're watching them use that. By the time we would get down there, it doesn't take much to do that, much time. Sometimes we'd be able to make an arrest, sometimes we wouldn't. I do know that we had included in a grant, a COPS grant that we applied for, a downtown beat officer specific to address that issue. The first year and a half, 2 years that we had that officer down there, he was the highest arresting officer in the department. He just was constantly busy doing that. About the time that we had put another officer in there, the agency that was down on Broad Street moved over to East and 2nd, and it was almost an immediate stop to the complaints and problems in the downtown area. Now, I do attribute that to two things. One, that the officer downtown was making a lot of arrests. He was very active and busy down there. But two, the problem was moved. It wasn't moved far, but it was moved far enough that problem wasn't downtown anymore. And if you go downtown, this is going to be the first full summer that you're going to see everybody coming down, enjoying the park. They were doing it last summer too, as the summer went on. But Ely Square it's a beautiful park, and it's highly used during the summertime. And to watch a couple years people not go there because they were afraid, it was unsettling. It's a draw to Elyria. Not to mention the number of business owners that were saying, my clientele won't come downtown because they're afraid. So, you know, the police department and the city took that out, that we had to do something about it, and we did. The problem is a couple of things here. You're addressing putting even a worse problem in the same location. Why would there be a difference from where it's at now? Well, they just have to walk from across Court Street to go from where they're at now to the Justice Center. Over there, they're going to have to walk all the way across to Ely Square every day. So we're going to have an issue with that coming up again. I see it. I'm sure you guys see it. One of the concerns I have is all I'm hearing right now is what the upfront cost is going to be. I don't hear about consequences of and additional costs outside the county to the city of what it's going to be to put it over on Broad Street. I'm telling you, it's going to be significant. We're in the last year of the COPS grant. Right now, we're in the part of the year that the city has to foot the bill. But it's part of the grant that we have to keep that position there. We can't afford to do that another year. There's very little chance that we'll get another grant to put somebody down there again, which in part is good. The way government works is they give you money to address a problem. You address the problem, well, you don't need the money no more. So when I go to try to apply for another COPS grant, and they say, well, you want to use it for a downtown beat officer. We used all the statistics that we had of all the problems going on that we stopped. So I don't have those statistics to use anymore. So when I go to the federal government and say, we need money to keep it so it doesn't happen again, I don't know about you, but my dealings with the federal government, that doesn't work too well. So our chances of getting another grant to keep an officer downtown is slim to none. That doesn't mean we won't try. We always put the effort forward, but I don't see it being successful with what we have going on. It is probably the best, statistically the lowest crime that we've had in the downtown area in years. You watch the people walk through the parks yesterday. Beautiful day. Did you see the people in the parks? I did. They're just flocking to get out. They're waiting. They want to go. They're not going to do it if we put that on Broad Street, and it's because that element's going to be downtown. They're going to scare them away. We've seen it happen before, and they were with less problem people than what we're going to put over there. With what the state has been doing in lowering who goes to prison, they're putting it on the counties specifically. It has an effect on the cities too. The sheriff can't put everybody in jail. And with these rules from the state saying that less people go to prison for offenses where 10 years ago they would go away for years, now they don't even get a presumption of going to jail. And we're going to take those people and put them over here. 10 years ago, those people would be in prison. That's going to cause significant problems in the downtown area. And like I said, when I hear about cost, I'm hearing about upfront cost. And the numbers go back and forth. I think Commissioner Williams brought up a $300,000 difference, whether it's 3, 4, 5, I don't know. That's upfront. What is it going to cost us down the road with the problems that we're going to be dealing with? Are we going to be able to draw businesses downtown? I'm telling you, a couple of years ago, that wasn't even a possibility. Now it is. The downtown is cleaned up. We need to keep it that way. I'm telling you, putting it on Broad Street is going to put it right back where it was. And I don't have the resources to put an officer downtown anymore. And our chances of getting a grant are slim to none. I know you are all aware of that. You've dealt with the federal government. You've dealt with these problems that I'm bringing up. But as I sat there and listened, number one, it seemed like the decision was already made. And we have just started the discussion. That would be disturbing to me, that in the beginning of the discussion that the decision's already made. And it's made basically on cost.
I think we're all three on different pages.
Right.
So there is no decision made.
Yeah, we have to do it out here publicly.
Yeah.
See if we don't get to do it behind closed doors, so it all comes out here, so. That's why I told the mayor there'd be no decision today that I thought.
The dollar amount up front is cheaper there than there. And I got a budget I got to run too. And I understand that there are decisions that are made based on budget, decisions that aren't popular. And I'll give you an example. I shut our narcotics unit down 2 years ago because I didn't have the money to run the unit anymore. It's the worst thing the city could have done, but there was no money to run it. So we had to make that decision. We started it back up because it was so bad, we didn't have a choice. We had to take that cost on. And I'm telling you, this is a similar thing. You don't want to make a decision based on what it costs up front when you know the effect is going to be long-term and it's going to be disastrous, and you're going to end up moving it anyway, just to address that issue. So, you know, I'm asking you to think about that. There's sometimes things cost more in the beginning to get it done the right way, and then in the long run it's cheaper. That's what this appears to be to me, and I don't have all the numbers, but I know that the overall cost going over there is going to be substantially higher to other, I'll say agencies, but I know to the city of Elyria, it's going to be more. And then the cost is immeasurable on what we're going to lose drawing people downtown, because you're not going to get them. And we did all the work for the last 4 years to make it so we could draw business downtown, and we're just getting there. Nobody wants to move downtown and say, oh, it looks clean now. They want to see a track record. Well, we're building that track record up. And we change that now, we're gonna lose it.
Appreciate it, Chief,
Yeah.
thank you.
If in the future you know you want to talk, I'm always willing to meet with you. Then I know the mayor is, but this is going to be causing a lot of problems in the downtown. And yeah, it's just moving it from the courthouse there, but that distance is going to have a world of difference for us. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
I don't see Virginia Beckham here, but we had a proclamation today to pronounce April 6th through the 12th as National Domestic Violence Week. Under Resolutions Number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorraine County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner. I do have a number of issues to talk to the board about. First and foremost, some potential hires at Golden Acres, the county kennel. Also, the potential sale and purchase of real estate and ongoing labor negotiations update. All three of those topics are allowable for executive session discussions under the Sunshine Act, and I would ask that at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today, we go into executive session and we talk about those items that I've specified. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cordez.
Approve and waive the reading of the minutes of March 26th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement with Great West Retirement Services, Section 457B, eligible deferred compensation plan for governmental employees through CCAO deferred compensation plan. Authorize administrator to be the plan administrator and execute all necessary documents on behalf of the board with prosecutors' approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement Phase 1 with Richard L. Bowen and Associates, Inc., Cleveland, in amount not to exceed $231,886.57 and reimbursable expenses not to exceed $8,240 to perform architectural and engineering services for Lorain County Transportation and Community Center, passenger rail platforms, and pedestrian bridge project. This will be paid from the Professional Services Q Building Transportation Hub account.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner. It's been a long slug, but we're there. I think this is we qualified them a couple weeks ago that we negotiated costs. We've worked with Norfolk Southern Amtrak. We've had multiple meetings to address concerns. I met with Norfolk Southern representatives last week. I wish the mayor had stayed and understood our commitment to downtown Elyria with regard to this. We've pretty much cleaned up a whole 2 city blocks over there that used to be decaying and decrepit, and of course their own draw for some of the things that the police chief spoke to. This will be hopefully the final leg of that, which will also aid the area down where the current Amtrak station is, which is not a very good area in and of itself, and move them to a more modern and comfortable facility. Right now we don't need any local dollars to move forward with this part of the project. We're still using old match from in-kinds that we've had over the last couple of years. But as you know, we've been challenged to develop a total project budget that will support doing this work. We lost $2.2 million of that budget a few weeks ago when we decided to donate our federal money to other communities because we couldn't match it. Yeah. And the chance of losing another $1.2 million by a similar time next year is very real, so the urgency is there. If we lose that $1.2 million, we will not be able to duplicate that going forward as our allocations for transit begin to decline substantially because our old allocations were unutilized. Therefore, they level that field, as you know. If you don't use, you lose it, and then you lose it in the future. So anything you return today, multiply by 2 for the future. And I think we've been having those conversations in various groups to educate them on why we need to bring dollars back. As Governor Kasich said about Medicaid expansion in the state of Ohio, the reason he voted for that and increased expenditures to Ohio is because he didn't want to leave $12 billion of federal dollars that belong to Ohioans in Washington. Mm-hmm. Nor do I want to leave millions of dollars in Washington that belong to Lorain County. So this is the next step towards that goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also move.
Second?
Anything further? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under Community Development, accept the recommendation of the Tax Incentive Review Council and approve the report, which includes continuing 14 for 1 year.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under Solid Waste, approve a marketing and development grant in the amount of $20,374.08 for recycled materials to be used in reconstruction of Valor Home, Lorain.
Mr. Bailey.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We worked very hard on this grant since last August. It took a lot of involvement of staff. Mr. Challenger was involved identifying products and working with the companies that provided products for the Valor Home, identify what we could pay for. And we identified those items and got support from the companies that manufacture those items. So we're able to bring to you today a recommended award of a little over $20,000 to Valor Home, all right, for their construction in Lorain. And I'm sure Dan's got something to say about it today, don't you, sir? So I'll yield the floor to him, all right?
Make sure you introduce yourself and what organization you're with, Dan. We all know, but TV Land doesn't.
Good morning. My name is Dan Gilotti, and I'm Vice Chairman of the Valor Home Lorain County Executive Board. We're the military interface between the county, the city, and our veteran population, as well as the general population. And I'm here today to thank the county commissioners and Keith Bailey and his staff and all the hard work that they put into helping us with this grant. We had to go back and recreate a lot of this information that went back, way back in the bidding process with this. And like Keith said, we were, the companies that build these products or make these products were able to dig up the information that was required by that. So the $20,000 will be well used, and we also come away with that with a great recycling plan and a solid waste plan that we will implement within our building over there, and that will help us with a lot of the products that we're currently throwing away, which don't need to be thrown away. They need to be recycled. So we appreciate that as well.
When
so
can
thank
we
you.
see it open, Dan? Give us an approximate. We have a date yet?
Yeah, you know, every time I set a date, something comes out of left field.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the flooding and everything else would just that really set us back. But I'm going to say roughly about 2 months.
About 2 months.
About 2 months. Yeah, that's the best I can do for you right now. There's a lot of things in play right now.
Make sure you give the address of the Valor Home while you're on.
Yeah, we're at 221 West 21st Street in Lorain. It's the old Mercy Hospital professional office building. If you know where St. Joe's is in 21st Street, and there's the bridge that goes over, we're on the southwest corner of Reed and 21st Street. And just to let you know, the bridge has been closed. You cannot go across there anymore. We've had it closed for about 5 months now.
And you're still looking for donations to name?
Absolutely. We're still looking for, we've got, most of the rooms have been adopted. We have 10 rooms that have not been adopted, so those are still available. And any contributions will go into helping us finish the project.
And who do they contact, Dan, if they'd like to write you a check?
You can contact me, and if you'd like a card before I leave, I'll be glad to give you a card. We do have an address, and that is the Post Office Box 4 at 221 West 21st Street, and it's Valor Home, Lorain County.
Wonderful. If you leave a card up here, we'll give it to our video gentleman, and we'll make sure he posts that up there, Valor Home, with your name.
Sure, will do.
So we can help
Yep.
out all we can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yeah.
the opportunity.
It was great. Thank you for the tour on Thursday, seeing
Okay.
the update. I don't know when the last time you guys have been in there.
About a month.
Yeah, if you get an opportunity, give me a call, and I'll be glad to set up a tour. And if you want to bring staff over or whatever, we'd be glad to have them come over and see what's going on.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you all.
Commissioner, I just want to once again reiterate that what was suggested here, that Keith and his staff went back, thank you, sir. This grant was very challenging for them. It was initially submitted differently. The board's task was to get it done, get them a grant. And while it wasn't as sizable as the original request, that was because of the nuances of what those grant funds can be used for. But through extensive research and working with the folks out at Valor Home and their cooperation, they were able to find some ability to access recycled materials in the construction phase and part of the equipping phase that brought the board together with Valor Home. So I want to thank Keith, because at first it looked like we weren't going to be able to do much anything. But something's better than nothing, and he came up with something, so he did a good job.
20,000 helps, right, Dan?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and with this application, they're actually going to use this as the template for when they have the public hearing for other communities that want to apply. April 17th, right, Keith?
That's correct.
At 10:30?
Yes.
And
We'll be on the fourth floor here having a little presentation for those who want to apply for market development grants. All right?
Yeah, we usually don't throw in things like recycling training and awareness programs, and it was really kind of neat how this was put together to be able to tap into various elements of the plan to be able to fund it. Usually we get a request for recycled play equipment, recycled bleachers. It's pretty cut and dry. It's an easy look. This one, in fact, I'm looking at it. It's pretty damn sizable, and it's got all kinds of little things in it that we were able to fund, but that come together in the aggregate to make a whole that's very appreciable.
Right. And I know we have baseball organizations that are nonprofit that are applying for the grant. Can you tell us who else can apply? It just doesn't have to be a government agency.
No. Any nonprofit agency can apply. And we're going to be working with quite a few, it looks like. We've got quite a few pre-applications in, but we want to refine every application that we run through the approval process and make sure we have crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, and we have good applications. In the past, we've had handwritten messes that are just dumped on us and said, fund it. Well, when you get the challenges of the EPA and dealing with the EPA, and you're dealing with 37, 34, 57G, the High Revised Code 1 through 10, you got to be careful where you step. I don't want to step in the doo-doo. So want to do it right the first time, get them done right the first time. We present you a good application like we did this one here.
Let me reiterate a couple points that we changed, so people looking at this or hearing about the upcoming application process understand. This is no longer a pay and then submit receipt type grant. This is a draw grant. The organization has two choices. They either pay for the work they want to do and they submit verifiable documentation, and we'll do a draw against the grant. We established that program because of some problems we were having with grants. Either they weren't carrying through or they were doing different things than they indicated in the grant. But the second piece we came up with was because some of the organizations were smaller, and everybody knows that most nonprofits are running on the ragged edge of not being able to meet their commitments on a weekly basis. And I credit them for juggling that and providing services in this community. So we have taken a posture of doing the project for them. Yep. And we'll project manage that, and then we'll purchase the materials, go out and work with the vendors to ensure that that gets done. That's not our preferred method, but that still allows those smaller organizations that don't have the ability to put out the funds and wait for them to be reimbursed to participate in these programs within this community. And I think that's going to make a lot more participation available.
Yeah, I think it will.
And we just did a project last year that
yes.
got really great.
Right, it's great program. They haven't got the chip in yet. The weather has not been cooperative, but the playground up there in Amherst will be done shortly, I'm sure. And the Elks Club is, what I understand, helping them with that. So they got a lot of volunteers, And they're going to be going in and removing the wood and putting down the geomembrane, and then our chip's sitting there since last December. So it's a matter of process and dumping the bags. And doesn't take long to fill up a playground with recycled rubber chip, which is some of the chip that we made here when we took 400 some ton a year tires in at the collection center or other 2 locations. And we bring them back, they recycled them, made the chip, and we put the chip right back over in Amherst in the playground. So this is a
remember
great win-win.
That organization didn't have the funding available
Right.
to go forward with that grant if we did not project manage that. So
I thought I just asked about making the mulch out of tires. We did that ourselves?
No, we actually dealt with the company that, Liberty Tire, the company that we send our tires to recycle, made the mulch for us in a Texas plant and shipped it up here, yes. So we're actually completing the loop.
Circle, yeah, but circle.
All the way around, all right?
Now,
Cradle to cradle.
for April 17th, what do they need to bring?
Just bring their information, and we'll try to work with them individually as much as possible, but I'll be doing a presentation on what's allowed, what's not allowed.
All right. And when you say their information, what information?
Their information, what they want to apply for.
Okay.
And then we can help them and assist them, and hopefully we'll be able to pull some of them in the private meetings over a period of weeks and get good, solid applications from day one. I don't want applications going down here and the commissioner say, oh, we don't want to fund this, you know. We got to be right the first time. Did a very good job. Mike Challenger helped us extremely with the lead process and identifying products in the Valor Home that we could use. So we're going to use this as a template, say this is how a good application looks, this is what it looks like, all right?
Yeah. Now, with this, they could actually apply. You were telling me about a product that they use, and because my kids are involved in sports, I was interested in this.
Yeah, ProTurf, yes.
ProTurf, so a grant could go towards that, and that actually helps reduce the concussions from
Injuries and stuff on athletic fields. ProTurf is another recycled tire product. It's been used a lot up in Northeast Ohio. When you see a football player's black come up off the ground when he's making a turn, that's not soil, that's rubber. And it's incorporated into the sod, and it's a product that's 4 or 5 companies sell. There's not just one vendor out there. But Liberty Tire is selling those companies the initial product, the crumb that they make ProTurf out of. And it's a very good product for preventing injuries, preventing concussions, and limiting the injuries in sports fields.
Yeah.
All right?
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Also move.
Second.
Anything further? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under the engineer, advertise for bids for general maintenance mowing of all ditch basins in the county. Notice being the Chronicle on April 4th and 11th, and open at 2 on April 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Approve and enter an LPA agreement with PSI Cleveland for geotechnical and environmental engineering, materials testing, and construction inspection services in the amount of $100,000 to be paid from the MVGT engineering project account, effective for 36 months. Authorizing engineer to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors for West 2 form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez?
we have a kickoff event tonight for Common Ground over at the Transportation Center for their new zip line. We've discussed it here. Hoping the commissioners can make it. It provides for a destination in Lorain County. These things are very, very popular right now. They're popping up all over. I always get excited about things that develop in Lorain County that bring people into Lorain County, not through Lorain County, not around Lorain County, but they actually stop here and they do something here and they recreate here. Cannot continue to beat the drum enough about how important that is, that we stop being a donor county with regard to disposable income, and we at least try to get even. A lot of times things will pop up in our community that look really great, and they are from a community standpoint of having services. But disposable income is a funny thing. You may open up a brand new just use something odd, a laser tag center, and it'll provide for 8 jobs, and it sounds really great, and people run and flock to go there, and they stand in line. But now they're not going bowling that night, and they're not spending money over at the bowling alley. So that part of the sector sags a bit. If you don't bring outside dollars in, and they keep leaving, you don't improve things. So while the laser tag business now just hired 8 people, maybe the bowling alley has to lay off 2. Because, and I'm being very non-specific, very generic, vanilla ice cream here, okay? But that's what happens when the same money is just pushed around in the same environment. You don't improve the community. And that's again, that's the nuance of disposable income, because people only have a certain amount. They're deciding whether they're going to go here or here. The key is to bring it, from here in. And more and more over the weeks you've heard me talking about that, and especially segue into transit, bringing money in. Same thing with economic development. Lorain County's economic development is very similar to the state's economic development, the country's economic development. You can't keep importing on a national level. We have to import in Lorain County, and we have to not export our dollars. We have to export our products, but not our dollars. So, in a smaller way, we operate just like that. And transit's the same way. Let's go there. I said every week I was going to talk about that. We have a fundraiser coming up for transit. I think Bev here?
Yep.
Coming up for transit. I'm hoping that we get a turnout. This is a hard-working group. They're committed. It's not the commissioner's group. It's their group. They're working to do what? They're working to bring dollars into Lorain County so that they can multiply in Lorain County, much like a destination does with a zip line or a recreational purpose or someplace for people to spend money.
Bev Beidleman, Lorain County Clerk of Courts. I'm the legal chief deputy. And I just wanted people to know I've been coming to the meetings, and when they announced about the transportation levy, I just realized that it's something that we need to do. And, we always talk about helping, but then we never step in and do something. So I said, this time I'm going to do something. My family is from Elyria. This is, our home. And so Lorain County is important to me. Kids went to college, left, just got one back. I'm trying to keep them here. And we just need more things to keep them here. So with our transportation levy, we're having a spaghetti dinner fundraiser on Monday, April the 14th at the Transportation Center, so people can actually get a look at that center and just see how beautiful it is and how, it's a great place for us just to increase our transportation and come up with some other ideas to help in Lorain County. So the time is going to be 4 to 7 at the Transportation Center, 40 East Avenue in Elyria. And the tickets are $20, and we said that for children 11 and under, we would just charge $6 because we like to make it a family event. And then we know that that's also Holy Week for people, so you can have spaghetti with meat or spaghetti without meat. So we try to have something for everybody. So we would appreciate your help with that. And then our next meeting for the committee, and anyone's welcome to come to the committee meetings. It's open to the public because we want the grassroots voice in it. So the next one is going to be on Tuesday again at April the 8th at 11 o'clock at the Transportation Center. So any questions, you can see Lori's our treasurer. If the public would like to make donations or corporate donations, we'll take whatever we can get. Thank you very much, Commissioners, Mr. Ennis and Mr. Cortez and Ms. Teresa.
Thank you,
Bev. I said it earlier when we were talking about the selection of the architectural firm, the A&E firm for the platforms for train service at the Transportation Center, and I'll say it again, the state has done the very same thing we're asking to do here. They're accessing federal dollars by spending a little more of state dollars, but they're bringing back a lot of value to the state of Ohio. Can't continue to leave our dollars parked in Washington, or even in our case, parked at the state, or redistributed to other communities to improve those communities. We need to get them here to improve our community. I'm sorry I keep beating the drum. The election's not too far off. After that, you won't hear from me on again for a while on that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ennis?
I have no report this morning, Commissioner.
Oh.
Commissioners report.
Getting sued by anybody?
I just wanted to remind everybody that Goodwill is having their job fair on April 10th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're looking for a job, it's a great opportunity to meet a lot of the businesses in Lorain County that are looking for help. End of my report.
Actually, a busy week, a lot of meetings, conferences, telephone calls, but I'd like to thank Mayor Jensen from the city of Avon. I attended his meet and greet at Avon Isle, myself and Commissioner Williams. They did thank Commissioner Williams for being there. And also, Team Lorain County in a conference called the search committee in charge of hiring a new director. Had discussion about hiring a firm to help with that. Very good phone call, and it was nice dialoguing with the people who were presenting. Also, Commissioner Kokoski and I got to do one of my favorite things in the world. We went to view a paper street. We have to look at a street that really isn't there to say we're going to take it off the plat so the abutting property owners can have the street to build on or cover or grass on. So Commissioner Williams was running late, but it took almost 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that'll be coming to, what day are we doing the public hearing on the Russell Street vacation? Is it within 30?
I was told I missed you guys by 3 minutes. I showed up at 11:08.
Was
I think
Pastor out
in
there?
2 weeks.
Huh?
Did the
I
pastor
think.
2
come
weeks.
out?
No, the engineers were still out
Oh,
there.
okay.
They were
What
just
day?
talking, and we'll go back to the
I think in
office.
2 weeks, but I don't have it written down.
You don't have a date? Okay.
End of my report. Tom, you doing anything?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just writing down the things because normally I forget what I did over the week. But Port Authority went to their stake fight. They have an issue on in the city of Lorain. I was talking with them. I don't know if, Teresa, if you received, they were asking for an endorsement from the Board of Commissioners, and they were supposed to send over some language.
I didn't receive, but I talked to Ted about it.
Yeah, we've got it, and we've got it in draft form, so Rick told me to give him a call.
Okay.
When we're ready to do it, so probably be next Wednesday's agenda.
All right, very good. And after the great stake from the Port Authority, went over to the Valor Home. Got to discuss some the issues that are going on there, and they got to tour the facility. If you haven't made it out there, it's definitely top-notch. Very impressed with what those men and women have done out there. On Saturday, one of our, unfortunately, one of our county employees, Heather Gibson, was in the Monday or Sunday newspaper. She's battling cancer, and they had a fundraiser for her. And you know, we go to a lot of, or I go to a lot of fundraisers just like you do. And I was amazed by the number of baskets that were donated by her family. I think there had to be 60 or 70 baskets there. And they were doing a 50-50 rally, and they did a Chinese reverse raffle. And everyone that was winning was donating the money right back to Ms. Gibson. And it was a great event. I'm glad to see the community come out and support this person and her family, and just very appreciative that we have a community that cares so much about the people that live here. So I wish her well. And yesterday, the reason I was running late is the mayor asked me to come back to Avon to talk with him about some other issues. We're going to have further dialogue on that. And I got to say, I'm very impressed with Mayor Jensen, stand-up individual. Seems to have a good understanding of what Avon's needs are, and cares about the community deeply. And just he's doing a great job out there. So, end of my report.
Madam Clerk?
We also sent a proclamation for Autism Month. And then April 9th at 2 o'clock will be our Records Commission meeting. Board correspondence?
Move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Kokoski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anyone wishing to address the board this morning? There's not many of you left. I'll make a motion to go executive session as outlined by the administrator and the prosecutor.
Well, second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, Downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.